Hi everyone, welcome back to the Health Analytic Insights channel. Much of quality improvement in healthcare is rooted in data-driven decisions to improve patient outcomes. We hear a lot about the importance of data-driven decisions in healthcare, and on this channel, I've focused on the data-driven aspect, talking extensively about using tools such as SQL and Power BI and how you can build your own clinical business intelligence portfolio by using these technical tools. And this can also help you to stand out to hiring managers. So if you're interested in specific videos on SQL and Power BI, check the description box, and I have a course that can help you really upskill with these tools. But in this series, I really want to focus on the decision-making portion of data-driven decisions. And I want to focus talking about frameworks that you should know when working in the health informatics field. So if this is of interest to you, make sure to subscribe, like the video to learn more. So let's start with a definition of what quality improvement is, or I'll just call it QI for short. It's defined by Health Quality Ontario as a broad range of activities of varying degrees of complexity and methodological and statistical rigor through which healthcare providers develop, implement, and assess small-scale interventions. Identify those that work well and implement them more broadly in order to improve clinical practice. So in this video, I want to talk about the 5 whys developed in the 1930s by Sakichi Toyoda, the founder of Toyota Industries. The purpose of the 5 whys is not only to clearly identify the problem that is looking to be solved, but also to uncover hidden processes linked to the problem that might not be immediately clear. If we take a healthcare example, on the surface, the problem might be that emergency wait times are increasing. But if you ask why, you might think superficially it's just because there's not enough staff. And so you can see an example of how we can use the 5 whys to really get into the root of the problem. So our first issue might be increasing wait times in the emergency department. You can ask yourself why the first time. And we might do some analysis and see that flu season is causing an increased volume of patients coming into the emergency department. Then you ask yourself, well, why is this? Then it can come to people are getting sicker than usual. Okay, well, why is this? They might lack access to preventative care. Okay, why don't they have access to preventative care? It could be because they don't have a primary care physician assigned to them. And then why is this? Maybe it's because they don't know that a new clinic is opened in their local community. And so when you really start to dig in more and more to the problem, it really helps you to understand what could be some of the issues that are leading to this main problem. And it can also allow you to ask questions of a multidisciplinary team. So not just, the emergency department team members, but looking at a local and a community lens to see why more and more patients are coming into the emergency department. Instead of focusing on increasing staff in the emergency department or refusing care, as a member of the quality improvement team within the health informatics field, you might focus on figuring out how to connect individuals to a primary care provider within their community and see how this impacts the emergency wait times overall. Although this is an effective decision framework, it is not without criticism. In a paper titled The Problem with the 5 Whys by Alan J. Card, which is linked in the description box of this video, this framework has been critiqued as being too simplistic. Mark Graben, a thought leader in the Lean community, points out the 5 whys is just one component of what should be a far more comprehensive problem-solving process. And so I'm going to introduce a new framework which could be used in conjunction with the 5 whys to really get into deeper problem solving. So here I want to talk about another framework that can be used in conjunction with the 5 whys. And this is a framework that was developed in 2008 by Professor Christina Guo and is a great framework for making clear decisions. The DECIDE framework consists of D, defining the problem, E, establishing the criteria, C, considering all the alternatives, I, identifying the best alternative, D, developing and implementing a plan of action, and E, evaluating and monitoring the solution. This is a really key framework to use because it forces your team to move through a logical process and stops the all too common problem of jumping straight to a solution without really getting clear on what the issue is. And this is quite common in team meetings in the workplace. You meet with your team, you're a bunch of smart people, and you want to just get straight to solving the solution. But I would encourage you to refer to the book Clear Thinking by Shane Parrish. In this book, he mentions facilitating 2 separate team meetings, one for defining the problem and another for coming up with solutions. I know I've been in meetings where we immediately want to jump to finding solutions before clearly defining the problem. This could look like having one meeting with your team on the DECI parts of the DECIDE framework, and then having another meeting to get clear on the D and E, developing and implementing a plan of action, and then evaluating and monitoring the solution. In the health informatics field, you'll often be working with a team, and using this framework during your brainstorming sessions can be a great way to come up with a clear definition of the problem. So, an example for you. As a healthcare analyst, imagine you're in a meeting one day, and the communication team mentions that there have been several negative reviews from patients who don't feel supported after their hip replacement surgeries. As part of the quality improvement team, this project falls on your desk to figure out how to improve the patient experience at your hospital. The use of patient-reported outcome measures, or PROMs, in clinical care has been documented to improve quality of life for patients. Several validated assessment tools have been developed based on disease category and patient demographics. 2 PROMs that have been used to capture patients' experiences of their symptoms following hip replacement surgery are the Oxford Hip Score and the EQ5D5L assessment tools. Once you implement these PROMs, it is key to evaluate and monitor how effective this implementation was to the outcome you were hoping to measure. And so, before you roll out PROMs in your patient population, you can use the 5 Whys and the DECIDE framework to get to the root of the issue you're trying to solve and make sure that you're designing a plan of action that is effective. The last framework I want to talk about is the PDSA cycle framework. And this framework consists of several pre-steps as well as the plan, do, study, act cyclical step that you see displayed here. So before jumping into the PDSA cycle, you want to again brainstorm with your team with an aim. What are we trying to accomplish? Measure, how will we know if a change is an improvement? And then lastly, what changes can we make that will result in improvement? Once you and your team have determined a solution, then you want to actually carry it out by following the PDSA cycle. And you want to make sure you're doing this because you don't want to roll out your solution to patients all at once because this might disrupt clinical workflow. And so it's really key to start small. Start with a pilot or a small population size. And this will really help you to test your change and then document any of the edge cases or things that you did not think about in the planning stage. So it can help you to improve getting buy-in from staff and administrative individuals. And then it can help you to really roll out your change in a large-scale format in a large population with minimal disruption to the clinical workflow. So if we go back to our example of implementing patient-reported outcome measures for patients who just completed their hip replacement surgeries, it might not be that you want to get positive reviews or remove all negative reviews from patients, but you might just want to develop a more centralized tool to get feedback from patients instead of having the information in disparate locations such as Google reviews or word of mouth. If this is the case, the answer to your first question might be, we want to develop a centralized process to get feedback from patients after their hip replacement surgeries, and future state would then be to flip those reviews from negative to positive. So the purpose of getting clear on what is being accomplished is that it reduces side quests and scope creep, which is common when it comes to working on a quality improvement project. This stage is a great time to get feedback from patients, clinicians whose workflow might be impacted by the change you're trying to implement, and any other relevant partners. It's also a great time to define your aim statement. Your aim statement clearly identifies the measures we want to implement, the target we are aiming to achieve, and by when. This helps the entire team get clear about the objectives of this analysis. An example aim statement could be, we want to implement the Oxford HIP score questionnaire within our department and have 75% of our total patient population within our department complete this questionnaire by August 2030. The next stage in the Plan, Do, Study, Act framework is Do. It might be helpful to implement this change on a small scale, as I mentioned, as a pilot to test the impact to the clinical workflow and if it provides a benefit for patients and clinicians. And then we wanted to study this pilot, again, identifying and documenting any of the edge cases we missed. And then we want to roll out this aim statement to a wider patient population so we can get clear on our solution. So in this video, we talked about 3 frameworks. We talked about the 5 Whys framework, we talked about the Decide framework, and we talked about the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle framework. So what would be some frameworks in the future? Many of these frameworks that I've talked about were developed during a time where artificial intelligence was not as mainstream as it is today, and the number of AI tools available to the public were limited compared to what we have access to today. It can be helpful to incorporate the power of AI tools in your brainstorming stage by creating an avatar or profile of the audience you're hoping to serve or find a solution for, and see what other solutions that you might have missed during the brainstorming stage. However, incorporating the use of AI tools should not replace doing your own analysis and interviewing partners who will be impacted by the solution you're hoping to implement in a clinical setting. One AI tool I would recommend is the use of Notebook LM, which only creates outputs based on the sources you share. Therefore, this can help to reduce the risk of hallucinations and false outputs. You can implement in AI several different articles that you found, blogs, YouTube videos, and as I mentioned, create an avatar of the individual you're hoping to help see this change implemented with, and then see if there's any gaps in your knowledge with the aid of these AI tools. So I think that might be one of the frameworks in the future, implementing AI in our current frameworks. So in conclusion, these frameworks are not in competition with each other, but are complementary and can and should be used as tools in your quality improvement toolbox when it comes to making better decisions to drive improved patient outcomes as a health informatics specialist. Comment down below, what frameworks do you use to make better decisions? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more quality improvement tips. Thank you and have a wonderful day.